Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to please stand on existing protocols as I have just 2 minutes. My name is Abijoke and I represent an organization called ElectHER. And today I think we're all here to discuss how we can elect women. I'd like to start by acknowledging the political will of the Ninth Assembly, to acknowledge the current women's political representation deficit across all appointive and elective offices in Nigeria, and as such pushing for legislation to eliminate all forms of discrimination hamstringing greater representation in our polity. For the purpose of this hearing, ElectHER as a women's political advancement organization is pushing for specific amendments to section 80 and 87 of the proposed bill, and our ask is to simply hold political parties accountable for the deliberate inclusion of women at the party administration level. While the current amendments have made provisions to recognize the issue of party delegates as a means to increase women's political representation, we recognize your work, but we still encourage you to do more. Where you have proposed one recognition for women out of 5 seats, we're proposing 2. Where you have proposed 10 women's representation out of 50, we're proposing 20. As we all know, it's a game of numbers and it's time to get serious. In the case of Namibia, women's representation in National Assembly rose to 42.7%, progress which can be attributed to part of the 50% gender quota adopted by one of the political parties, same as South Africa as well. At the moment, 18 out of 47 African countries have all adopted the use of legislated gender quotas. While some people might argue that legislated gender quotas is in itself discriminatory, these are temporary special measures to tackle a systemic discrimination against women. So once again, we plead with you that if you're seriously passionate about national development, if you're seriously passionate about mothers, fathers, children, brothers, and sisters, we should put in kind consideration that political parties as custodians and gatekeepers are very much responsible at that level to help us amplify this voice. If we have the right representation, then this will increase candidacy and, in effect, increase the representation of women at elective office. While we cannot control the outcomes of elections and the will of the people, the provision of level playing field for all men and women through the proposed temporary special measures will most certainly present the opportunities for the diversity of choice. If this Electoral Act holds political parties accountable for the implementation of those practical recommendations, we will most certainly see the number of female candidates increase and, by extension, the number of elected female officials. Distinguished senators, honorable members of the House, we want to thank you for putting the effort to really make this happen. But if we're to be honest with ourselves, this country is going nowhere without the leadership structure that is reflective of society, which are men and women. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much.